In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are listed in the annual agenda. Copies are sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press and posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. The notice of this special regular meeting via the June 3rd, 2020 Sunshine Notice has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley News, has been posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and Borough website. First, I want to thank everyone for attending a special meeting on short notice on a Friday evening at 5 o'clock. But as we all know, in these COVID times, instructions, orders from the government, everything is from the governor, everything is moving and constant. Pardon me?
It's hard to hear. There's a lot of movement.
Oh, okay, if we can go on mute. Until you're speaking, if you can stay on mute, please, so we don't get the background noise. And so anyway, there's a lot of regular changes, so it's important that we had this work session tonight. The first order of business is public comment, and there's a letter from a resident that came via email that has to be read into the record. Want to read that first, Lizette, and then we'll go to public comment?
Business owners are more than happy to have tables in front of our store for traveling. Cactus is mainly takeout, and Bread has a large sidewalk in front and would be happy with a few more tables. Bread and Tavlin are both closed on Saturday, which is an important retail day for us. The tables will be empty and we won't have any parking.
Okay, so thank you, Lizette. Do we have other public comment? Anyone there? So Andrew, you're the first one there, so state your name and address for the record, please, and then go ahead and make your comments.
Sure. My name is Andrew Till, 124 Oxford. I think everyone knows me. But just finishing up Tenafly Terrace, by the way. So again, as I think I always do, I just want to start by thanking everyone on the council, the mayor, for helping this continue to go. A lot of happy people picking up PPR today, and hopefully they'll have a Good Friday meal. again, I want to thank everyone, just for all the hard work, and I hope that, I really hope that we can do this. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Lizette, do we have other people who want to speak?
Yeah, it's Max Bosch. I don't know if my speaker.
Go ahead. Max, go ahead and just name and address, please.
Okay, it's Max Bosch, 148 Magnolia Avenue. I think that having downtown traffic is a very positive development for downtown. I don't know the entire plan. I just kind of heard it and stuff like that. So I just want to recap it. That's what it is. Basically, what we're going to have is on Railroad Street or Avenue, traffic is going to be from south to north up to the river edge. Is that correct?
It will be, well, we're going to go, I don't really want to start getting into answering questions because it's public comment time. There's,
All right, that's there. All right, and also, it's on Washington Street, is going to be from east to west.
correct.
2 comments. In front of the diner, we gave them a special dispensation in order for them to extend over the sidewalk, and they built some sort of a hangover type extension that is already covering the sidewalk as it is, and we gave them a special dispensation. Also, they have space inside. So, to make a long story short, I would suggest that we keep the one-way traffic up to Washington Street and from Washington to River Edge, leaving 2 ways, and that would allow also a few extra spaces for people that want to go downtown. And it's not going to hurt the government because we already gave them a very special dispensation. The other one was that the way it's right now established, basically one side of Washington is going to have tables and it's outside. Well, the other side is not going to have. I'm very concerned about the bakery, who now is going to be in a position of disadvantage versus the other restaurant. And I'm just wondering if we can designate a special space for the bakery to be able to also have outside tables across the street. It's not exactly very optimal, but at least gives them an equal chance of having an equal footing to compete with all the other restaurants, if they so like it.
Okay,
So, to make a long story short, I would suggest that we do not have a single-way, one-way street in front of the diner, because we gave them already a special dispensation. And I'm suggesting to designate a spot for the bakery, so if they want, they can also have outside tables.
okay.
Also would suggest, and I'm sorry that I'm taking so much time, is that we have something that's going to go from now to Labor Day. There should be a point in time, maybe 30 to 45 days from now, where you should have a review of what is going on to make it really permanent to Labor Day. It's always good to check up on what you do to make sure that the changes that are really helping and not hurting.
Okay.
And what I'm not suggesting that,
you can change every 2 weeks or so. But a checkpoint in the middle of the summer would be helpful to validate or not the changes that we are doing downtown.
Okay.
And then, thank you.
Thank you very much, Max. Thank you. Next.
Can I call?
Who is that, and name and address?
Hi, this is Christine Evron, President of the Chamber of Commerce.
Go ahead.
3901 Leroy Street. I submitted a potential plan that gives all the restaurants the table space they need. We are requesting that we get sidewalk seating for all the downtown to stretch in front of non-restaurant businesses. We can accept business owners or building owners. That we get some restaurants that don't have adequate sidewalks, some parking spot blockouts on Washington and J Street in front of Data, and Washington in front of Brasserie, Vish, and Tea Garden. All of them want to have table service. None of the others do, unless they have a few tables on the sidewalk. And we would like to request a pavilion mall idea to test this out, because we think this can bring a lot of business to Tenafly if it works. But we'd like to start with a manageable experiment in front of Tenafly Classic Diner and on Piermont Road from Mr. Locke's to Axiom. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any other commenters?
I see Dan is on.
Dan is on. Hey, Dan, how you doing?
No other public comment.
No other people for public comment?
No one has their hand raised.
I would love to say something.
All right, go ahead. First person who spoke, go ahead. Name and address, please.
When I get warm, okay, you go ahead first. No, you go ahead. Okay. Jean Marble Shane, 75 Woodland Park Drive. I think the outdoor seating would be a great addition to downtown. Even will be a benefit to the non-dining businesses in the area, because more customers come through their store for the no-name business that way, rather than leaving a parking spot for one dedicated client. A dedicated client can park a few spots away or park in the lot, and they'll still get to the store. But with the foot traffic, they'll gain so much more. A lot of residents are not aware of all of the local businesses in our downtown, because they just drive up to the shop, they get in, they get out, and they never get exposed to the rest. As long as we bring attention to the parking lots that we have in the downtown area, I think parking will not be an issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There was another speaker?
Hi, this is Monali Lanan from 7-Eleven. I would also be very happy to see our downtown becoming very happy and bringing the walking traffic to my store. But I also have an issue where parking would have been, I'm just a little concerned that how the people, like especially on the J Street restaurants, are going to be putting up there, if they're going to take away the parking where their clients are going to park, because we have a very limited access to parking for our customers shopping at 7-Eleven itself. So our business, restaurants owner going to take care of that they're going to talk with their clients, not putting their cars into our parking lot, or what's the plan? How are we going to prevent that?
Okay, is that the extent of your comments, or?
No, so I already spoke up last time when we were in the meeting that they can have a valet parking, or they can have a policy on that, okay, we just check with our people sitting in there on the restaurant, outside, that please do not park in anybody else's private property. And in that situation, are we going to get any help from the town? People continue to do that, because we face a lot of parking issues ongoing.
Right, so that particular detailed issue is, you're 100% right. That is an ongoing challenge to make sure people don't use your parking lot, which we all need to address together with you, and we'll do that. I'm not going to address those particular details this evening, because it's part of a larger problem we have to resolve. And we are sensitive to that, and we will watch that as if this if this plan moves forward. But that has to be resolved either way.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe Jamie Corsair wants to speak. Can you tell if she's there? Right, Jamie Corsair. Jamie Corsair, are you there?
Yeah, once the meeting starts, I can't add any.
You can't.
Like, I can't send an invite to anyone once the meeting starts, so she's not.
Oh, I see. Pardon me? Yes, go. Who is that?
Peter Rustin, 295 Woodland Street.
Hello, Peter. How are you this evening?
I'm well.
Good. Go ahead. You're the last one. Okay.
In the downtown, having lived here for 40 years, fairly well. The drivers for our downtown are the movie theater, which unfortunately is closed, and the restaurants. They drive our downtown. However, the two issues that we've had to face over the years, and everybody on the governing body knows this, are parking and traffic circulation. And I was surprised to see today when I went downtown around 2 o'clock that there were no empty spaces on Washington Street, which is unusual because the stores, a lot of stores are closed. Usually you have parking spaces. If this plan takes away parking spaces and it impacts traffic circulation, I think you're opening up a beehive. I also believe that it's not necessarily fair to the non-restaurant businesses, and I hear Goldstein Jewelers as one that's verbalized that. I'm not even confident that you're going to get a lot of restaurants that are doing this. Now, I don't minimize the value of outdoor seating, especially since we can't have indoor seating. So this gives some of the restaurants that are going to participate an opportunity to bring in income. However, we do have a pretty good sidewalk situation. And my suggestion to you folks would be use the sidewalks as best you can. If the diner wants outdoor seating, they can put outdoor tables on their parking lot and people can park on the street. If you're going to take away parking spaces on the street and change the parking circulation, I think you're going to get a lot of complaints from a lot of people. And if I was a non-restaurant business in town, I would be extremely upset. So I hope that you can work out something that provides outdoor seating for the restaurant. Cafe Angelique has plenty of space. They don't need any assistance. You're talking about, according to what Christine just said, only 3 restaurants on Washington Street. So you can extend tables up and down that block. You can put tables in front of alongside Mint, which is a very wide area there. The same thing on West Railroad. Tablet and the Brent are closed on Saturdays, Friday afternoon, Friday evenings. So I think you should proceed with caution. And I wish you a lot of luck. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
I have one last minute email that came in. From Jamie Corsair.
Jeremy Corsair, okay.
She asked if she could speak, but I emailed her back and said it's too late, so there was no public comment. So we can close the public comment section.
Hello, was there someone else making a comment there?
Sorry, Jimmy. Yeah, it sounded like Jimmy was there.
Jamie, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead then.
Is someone still talking?
You're live, so you could just state your name and your address, please, for the record.
All right. Jamie Corsair, 92 Woodland Street. And I just want to say that we have been quarantined with our families for a really long time. And the council and the mayor, you've done a great job to keep us together as a community and help us through it. And now I'm asking you to help us open up together as a community. And it's something that we all want to do. We all want to come. We want to spend our time now in our town helping our businesses. And I'm just asking you to do it well and the right way and make it possible to maximize the number of people that can come downtown and shop in the shop and eat at the restaurant and sit together like we have been for this entire thing. And that's what I want to say.
Okay, thank you, Jamie.
So now you close the public comment section.
Okay, so we're going to close the public comment section. I'm going to just tee this up for 30 seconds, and then we'll open for discussion amongst all the council people. First, I want to say thank you to Council members Lauren Dayton and Adam Michaels for really putting this together with the police chief, who had a substantial amount of input here with the council people. The chief also has consulted with the fire chief, Phil Pott, over safety issues, and we've had input from our DPW leadership. You know, the whole goal of this effort, and by the way, I was just informed that the governor extended the emergency orders for another 30 days, effective today for another 30 days. The whole point of this, and there's a lot of moving parts, is to help our restaurants and businesses recover from what's been going on with the COVID shutdown, to provide outdoor dining, atmosphere and shopping, and potentially bring more customers to downtown. You know, we're very sensitive over the parking issues. You know, I have said many times that Tenafly has a walking problem more than a parking problem. We've got 3 municipal lots downtown that often don't get used sufficiently. This plan that the council members and the chief have put together, something has been laid out here. It could be phased in, it could be phased out. Nothing we're doing is, concrete and steel in the ground. If we find out that 30 days from now, whatever we've instituted is not working, we can pull up the barriers, sweep the streets, and go back as it was in the past, if that's what we choose to do. So my point is we're being very flexible. We're very sensitive to the parking issues. We will adjust as we go, and as I said, phased in and phased out based on what the conditions on the ground are and what's prudent. The date that restaurants are allowed to start serving food to diners, and that's only for outside, is June 15th. We have no information about when they'll be allowed to serve food inside the restaurants, and this plan as proposed, the maximum time that would be in effect would be through Labor Day if we chose to keep it going that long. But we are looking to get something up and running by June 15th. And, with that, I'll stop talking and leaving it open to the council members who all have the plans, the proposed plans in front of them, and a proposed resolution for Tuesday night's council meeting. So who would like to go first? Chief, pardon me?
They have to raise their hand
If any of you please raise your hand, just electronically,
or unmute yourself.
or unmute yourself and just join the party. Anyone there?
I'll start.
Is that Jeff?
Mayor, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Jeff.
All right. I'll be talking more later. Just one of the things I want the council to remember is that this is a resolution. You have a resolution before you. It has a number of different steps. I think overall this is a great step forward for Tenafly. Like any other resolution, we can pass it. Doesn't mean that every single aspect immediately has to go into effect. For example, the mayor was talking about phase in or phase out. We always have that option. As an example, we put into the budget for 2 hot boxes for DPW. We only bought 1 right now. The resolution allows for 2. We have put in for a number of employees, but we put a hiring freeze. So we can pass a resolution and we can have an understanding and we can leave it to better heads of if we want to phase it in and do it in sections. For example, maybe we'll start with Washington Street and some of the areas around Mr. Walk and then see if this is working. Maybe then we'll see if we want to expand it to West Railroad, or we'll start it all. Then later we can add picnic tables if we need picnic tables. But I think that we have that option. We also have to remember this is only for the summer. This is not permanent. Well, yes, it may have long-term implications if we see it works. Right now we're talking about a resolution. And I think that one of the things I've been hearing from a lot of members of the council is a lot of extreme detail.
you know, it's almost to the point of, well, we're gonna put this table here, that table there. I'm surprised we haven't had the discussion that every table should be orange and black in keeping with Tenafly colors. We should not be in that minutia. We should be looking at the resolution. Do we support, if there are particular, I think there were 12 items or whatever on the resolution, if there are particular ones you want removed, this is what the discussion should be. I think we can leave it to the chamber, we can leave it to Lauren and Adam, who've been doing a great job downtown. We can leave it to further discussion about how we phase it in or out. And I think we should have a review after a couple of weeks, because we've heard before people will do, you know, if you build it, they'll come. We had the movie theater close, and we had a room full of people, we must reopen it. We can't live without the theater, and 3 weeks after it reopened, it was as empty as a ghost town. Nothing gets to the theater, just that's the reality. So we can always look at this and consider it. It's not permanent. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's 12 items. Let's focus on those and then see where that takes us. That was my starting piece. Thank you.
So with that,
Yes? Yes?
can I have a copy of that resolution? I don't think I have it.
It did get emailed to all of them.
Yes, I sent it yesterday. I'll look for it to resend it.
Yesterday.
It did get sent yesterday, yes.
10:05 a.m. on Thursday. 10:05 a.m. on Thursday.
I think Julie was next?
Yeah, is my microphone working?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to ask a follow-up to what Jeff just mentioned. So are you saying that basically you see our role tonight as necessarily these details of the plan, but in fact, just saying, yes, we want outdoor seating, or because we have alternate plans that have been presented to us, so I just want to know what what you believe our work is tonight.
All right, so number one, all right. Number one, we're policymakers. And so this is a matter of policy, of what we want as the overall policy. There are, if I bring up the resolution, I have that on a different screen somewhere, but I can actually look at it. There are, 10 different items in the resolution. We definitely can go through and see, are there items from that we want to take out, that we just as a matter of policy don't want? And we can also discuss, are there any of those 10 items that we want to prioritize as has to be done first, and others that can be done second or third? I'm not saying we shouldn't consider it, but our focus should be, we have a resolution before us with 10 items, and those are the 10 that we should really be looking at. And if there's any one of those 10 you don't want, that's what absolutely we should be talking about. Does that make sense, Julie?
Yeah, thank you. So do you think that's the best way to proceed tonight, is we go over the resolution at bullet by bullet, or do we go to some of the plan? Because, I've got specific questions or, what I think just notes about things like that. I just don't know how you think things should go. And before you answer, I just want to thank all of our residents who called in and sent emails. Really, really appreciate it.
Jeff, you,
All of your feedback, so thank you all. So I just, the best way to proceed.
so, do you want to respond to that, Jeff? Go ahead.
Look, you're the mayor, you run the meeting.
Right.
I think that Julie's inference there, or question, may not be bad to just
Yeah.
take each of the 10 items, because the parking plan itself is part of the resolution, but we vote on the resolution, and if we want to modify any portions of it, I think if we go down it item by item, we're going to find a whole bunch of items that there's no discussion, and we agree, let's move forward. So this way we can focus on the few that might do have some differences. There are only 3 parts or 2 parts of the resolution that deal with that. So we can get to those pretty quickly and at least rest assured that the rest of it will go through intact. That's all. I'm trying to come up with a logical way so we're not all over the place.
Yeah.
Maybe your suggestion there, item by item, it would be fast.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I just want to back up for a second and respond to one of Julie's thoughts. You know, Julie, we've got a concept here. Lots of people have put forth a multitude of good ideas in terms of alternative variations. And at some point, if we consider every single variation on the theme in terms of being required to lock that down, you know, we'll never move forward. So I think let's go down the list of items in the resolution, and, you know, we'll talk about each one as we go. So the first item, if everyone has the resolution in front of them, is the issue of adhere.
Vanu had his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Vanu. Go ahead, Vanu.
May?
Yes.
Yeah. Jeff's suggestion, the suggestion that we go down the bullet points is all well and good. The problem I see is that in principle, we are agreeing that we're passing a resolution in whatever form it is. But there are several ways to implement those, the spirit of the resolution. And depending on who is handling that aspect of it, they may have not implemented, may implement more urgently than others may, or that we as a governing body, let's think, or thought it should be. It's hard to let how fast some of these changes are going to be put in place, or what, the only control we have is how is passing a resolution. And, to the extent that, plans are implemented, there is a lot of discussion and a lot of understanding of everybody's the way they want to approach it.
Well, I think, you're right, and that's, we're going to have that discussion tonight, item by item. Any other questions from the council before we start with going down each resolution, Lizette?
I see Julie and Dan still have their hands up.
Julie and Dan. Julie? No? Dan? No.
Item by item.
What did he say?
Go item by item.
Item by item. Okay. So the first one is that the restaurants have to adhere to the protocols, established by the New Jersey Department of Health, and it gives the directive number there. Does it?
Mayor, really quick, before we get into the items, I just have a quick question on one of the whereas. Do we know that Tenafly restaurants have experienced great economic losses, or is this just an assumption?
We're just going by the broad statistics that restaurants have lost about 2/3 of their business on the statewide level. So we have not done that calculation down to the municipal level.
So we don't. I mean, to the extent that we've been trying to support the businesses and everything, and probably more than other communities have, that this is necessarily verifiable as a statement.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. I mean, Christine could talk to it. D'Antonio's unfortunately is out of business. I would assume that's a pretty extreme example of economic loss. I'm happy for others to comment.
yeah. So all right. So let's start with number one and the health. New Jersey Department of Health protocols. That's what we're expecting the restaurants to follow. Does anyone have questions or comments about that?
There's no option for that.
I understand. Okay, so that one's, no one has anything, no comments, there's really no option with that.
I do just have a question about, the executive directive. Does that include
Do you want to answer? So the answer is yes, but go ahead, Lizette.
Yes, the directive, I jotted down some notes, it emphasizes that it's mandatory that signage is posted that no one with fever or symptoms of COVID should enter. Limit seating to a maximum of 8 customers per table and arrange the seating minimum distance of 6 feet. They have to rope off what's not used. They have to demarcate 6 feet of spacing in patron waiting areas. They need to put physical barriers at least 6 feet apart. Barriers, eliminate self-service, a lot of disinfecting protocols. There has to be physical barriers and partitions between the registers and the host, 6 feet between the workers and customers, and conspicuous signage at the entrance of the 6 feet requirement, and an inclement weather policy. So those are just some of the protocols in that executive directive.
Okay, thank you. I think it's valuable for the public to also hear that.
Okay, item number 2, restaurants with a plenary retail consumption license that want to sell alcohol in the outdoor dining areas of the streets and sidewalks must apply for a permit with the New Jersey Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control. And so that licensing that's online, they're able to do that now, or how is that working, Lizette?
It opened up today on their website, so it's just for licensees that they just go online, New Jersey ABC Posse, they input their information, they have to upload various items such as a sketch of the layout, a sketch of where like photo ID is going to be verified for serving. There's like 5 points that have to be verified. So once an applicant that is a license holder submits that to the ABC, they review it, then they send it over to the chief and I for a municipal endorsement. They have to pay the state a $75 state fee online. There is no municipal fee.
And that's, just for clarification, that's not someone who wants to get a new license to serve drinks. That's for people who already have licenses to serve drinks.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so who has questions about that topic? None? Okay. All right. We'll move to item number 3. It's proposed that the parameters we're discussing here are effective from June 15th through Labor Day. And again, I just want to iterate, that's not a hard Labor Day stop. If we find that in a particular period of time this does not work, then we can pull the plug on it as we choose to, and or pull the plug on parts of it and not others, and alter it. So none of this is, quote, set in stone. So comments on that?
Julie has her hand raised.
Julie, go ahead.
I would like to propose putting in here a review of 30 days from the start of it, so we can have it codified as we'll review the plan, maybe regardless of what type of feedback we're getting, but just to know that mid-July would be revisiting the plan.
So when's it, council? Okay, that's a good idea, Julie. When's it?
Actually, I'd say let's do it every 30 days. I love Julie's idea. Let's just say every 30 days we review how we're doing.
That's fine by me. That's fine.
Well, the thing is, the council meetings are not always every 30 days, so we'll just put the date. So at the very end,
Every other council meeting would be every month, right?
for the summer, yes. So, but this is expected to go on the 9th. So 30 days from June 9th, there's no council meeting. The next meeting is July 13th. So what I would do is after number 10 or more or less are added, there would be a further resolve clause that this plan will be reviewed at the following council meetings, and I'll just list between now and Labor Day within the 30-day space.
Okay. Is that good for everyone?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so item number 4, it's proposed that Railroad Avenue and Washington, only those sections that we laid out in green would be available for outdoor seating, and then the traffic will continue on all the other parts of those streets and the parking. And again, this is this is kind of the maximum, if everything was working, and this is what we all decided to do, that we would do. This doesn't mean that we'll immediately close, that we'll immediately have outdoor seating on Railroad. We would start with Washington Street and then move to Railroad based on this map. Again, it's ramp up, ramp down. Go ahead, whoever wants to.
Dan has his hand up.
Go ahead, Dan.
This is a question for the chief. If we did only the parking lot spots, is there a concern with you to have two-way traffic with the parking lot, just the parking spot blocked off?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Chief.
I'm sorry, Dan, Dan,
Dan, can you repeat that question?
I have a concern why.
So, yeah, sure. So the barriers right now go to the yellow double lines. What if those barriers only went up to the parking spots and traffic still continued through?
That's an option. That was discussed early on. That can happen, just be less seating, but the concrete Jersey barrier, will provide the necessary protection from the seating that's a little next to the traffic. But parking system will be the size of seating.
And on the same topic, where Washington and Summit is the do not enter sign, could that be pushed up to the alleyway at the beginning of Pizza Nova? Would that pose any danger?
It would, because when the cars that were traveling east on Washington, when you pass that South Summit, when you get to that closure, if it's Nova, it has to be like in the way. And if it's only the parking spots, then it's not a do not enter, they're driving down the road. But if you're talking about from the road to the alley, then how do they go any further?
And is West Railroad going for the same concept of the parking lot spots only?
West River Avenue, with parking spots, back up yesterday, the Chief Hill Park was nice enough to bring down the tower truck and the ladder truck yesterday. We talked about it, tried to imagine it. So how about I bring down the trucks? Concern is that those two trucks are the largest trucks in the entire parking fleet. We have outriggers. And to operate those ladders and towers, they have to obviously have the valve support to counterbalance the ladders and towers. Well done yesterday. We extended them, I had a picture of it. And we saw what would be done if those trucks had to be pulled on Washington Street. The issue with West Railroad Avenue, West Railroad Avenue is really small over there on Washington. And on West Railroad Avenue, we face no problems with five, those two trucks. So, West Railroad Avenue, the spaces, as opposed to the entire lane, would probably be better for the safer for the fire truck, those two trucks to operate.
Gotcha.
Any other questions, Dan?
No, that was it for the chief.
Okay, who else next with questions?
I have a question. My name is Bruno Duca.
Okay, this is the council's having this conversation right now.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Vinu has his hand.
Vanu, you have your hand up?
He has to unmute himself.
Vanu, you have to unmute yourself. Take your time.
Yeah, so, sorry about that. Since we're talking about the bullet point that specifically discusses Railroad and Washington Street, since there are plans that are included, I just thought that it's important to kind of understand that significant amount of sidewalk space, much more than for Tavlin. And because the sushi places, the takeout place, they don't, their plan doesn't require seating. The only one that we're talking about in terms of closing the road down to accommodate would be Tavlin in my mind. And so that's kind of the general picture for railroad. But in terms of my first concern about closing a major section of Washington, the railroad from Washington Street to over there is we're already getting rid of the parking in on Washington Street on both sides. We're talking about getting rid of the parking on one side of railroad. Am I wrong?
No.
Yeah.
In Washington, we're only saying one side. So you have the parking on all the other side.
No, but the other side, most of it is used up for pickup, so nobody can actually park there. They can come.
Yeah, agree.
Essentially, the parking environment is, and then when you go to the other side of South Summit, yes, you have parking available and you have municipal parking. But yeah, so we're losing a lot of the parking on Washington and then half of it on Railroad. So you're stuck with just the diagonal parking on Railroad. So you're already losing a big portion. My second concern is really one of safety and backup of traffic along West Railroad Avenue. And please, Chief, if there's something that I'm misspeaking or whatever, please correct me. But there are really two or even three aspects to this. First, West Railroad Avenue is, as we were discussing, a narrower street than Washington Street, largely because of the diagonal parking along the eastern side of the street, which crowds in the width of the road. By putting up a barrier along the center median, it makes the space available for traffic less than that of Washington Street. Second, with the dearth of parking spaces, the available spaces on West Railroad become even more precious, as I mentioned. Now, if you imagine traffic turning from West Clinton Avenue on to West Railroad into a street where most parking spaces are taken, and drivers want to get in and out, while there's also a steady stream of cars, traffic. Well, this is congestion with nowhere else to go. Remember, West Clinton is the beginning of the road, and it will back up into County Road and all other roads in that intersection. So there is the potential for creating congestion and a mess on railroad with just one lane. In addition, many residents will recall that several years ago, our town attempted a pilot project where we turned two-lane West Railroad Avenue into a one-way road. Within 2 weeks of trying this, we were forced to reverse it because the complaints and public and the traffic difficulties. So I mean, we've tried this, on railroad, and I'm not, sure that that's necessarily what we want to do. But then, so traffic and safety were not bad enough. The main reason I would recommend keeping West Railroad open is because the street during high traffic period is an off-travel alternate for County Road. And people use West Railroad to bypass County Road to take Franklin Street to meet up with Dean Street. They also take West Railroad to make the right and go down to Tenafly Road or point to East Southwest Ledge. So, I mean, it's a very important, people think of it as, it's kind of, it's just on the side of the railroad, there are a bunch of stores there, but there's actually a lot more traffic flow along the railroad. And just standing there, I mean, even now, you see a lot more. Some of it now is because of the construction going on with Suez. But I think, this is something that we should really consider about not closing the West Railroad. I mean, we can open it, we can keep it open, and then if Tavlin, under his circumstances, says, hey, listen, I don't
Okay, thanks, Vanu. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, so thank you, Councilman Menon. So just a couple of points on some of your things, just for clarity as the downtown committee, the conversations with the chamber and with Councilwoman Dayton as well. I don't want to speak for her, but she's been very helpful and she's been a big piece of this. So just for clarity for the whole council, the first one is, so Washington, the way it's set out before, if you use the length of Washington from Summit to Railroad, that's fewer than 20 spaces. So if the restaurants need the spaces, again, we're moving like the Yasus of the world and the Criminals and the Fuva onto that Washington area. We actually don't have enough if you give everyone 2 tables, right? We always want to give everyone the option for the equal amounts. You actually wouldn't have enough spots. So the BYYs of the world, you might have to use the tables on Railroad. So the Railroad tables are actually not just for Railroad. They're actually for spillover because there's not enough table space in Washington. So that's just the first part for clarification. The second one is great feedback. Again, the mayor and I met with more than 25 members of the chamber just 2 days ago. And someone from the chamber brought up a great point around signage. And I believe, I don't think it belongs in a resolution, but it's a non-negotiable to me that if we're going to do this at all, we need to invest, and it's not a lot of money at all, but signs to help people. And the mayor brought this up earlier. Again, I'm going to steal the mayor's great work. We have a walking problem in town, not a parking problem. And we need to do a much better job on signage of the municipal lot, the USPS. Ask 10 of your friends if you're allowed to park at the USPS, and I'll put money up that tells you that 8 of them would say, no, that's not municipal parking. Well, it is. Across the street from the USPS, behind the movie theater, right, caddy corner to Wells Fargo, by Angelique, by Mr. Watts. Obviously, we go on and on. You and I and the rest of the council know where all of this parking is, but unfortunately, our residents don't, and that's our responsibility to help communicate to them. So I really do believe that there's actually, I actually would not use the word dearth of parking. I think there's, I don't know if I'd use the word abundance, but there's certainly adequate parking. It's do people know about it? And then the third one, and I will challenge my fellow council members, and I'll just use, Councilwoman Menon just used the Cactus Sushi example. I was just in his store today. What has been done in the past, I would argue, I actually, on my day job, I actually do this for a living. Unfortunately, because of this horrible pandemic, is not what's going to happen in the future. So I have no doubts. It is there's no argument that in the past, people that have bought from Cactus Sushi have only done it at takeout. I will posit that that in this new COVID era, I heard a number of residents speak about they just want to get out and sit down. I believe that you are going to use up the 2 tables that Cactus Sushi has because people want to eat at Cactus Sushi and eat outside. So I would challenge my fellow council people to don't think about what has been, but rather what could be. So those would just be my 3 points on how we're using Railroad. The Railroad is not just for the 3 restaurants on Railroad. And sorry, just one last quick thing. In perspective again, Tavlin has, and I speak to Eric all the time, but 25, I'll agree with the council, maybe they have 25, 30 tables in that store, right? A whopping total of 0 are allowed to be used effective June 15th, right? So,
What'd you say? He froze?
we could be by the downtown, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Next, who would like to speak? Hold on, we're having some computer glitches for a second here.
Julie has her hand raised.
Yeah, so as far as the scopes for, anyway,
Go ahead, Vanu, then Julie, please. Hold on, technical difficulties here. Stand by.
the tables that are out, the tables that are out there, or that we're proposing putting out onto Washington, let's say. In my mind, are dedicated tables and servicing those tables. Now, what happens is if there's a spillover into railroad, and there's a table that's 45 feet away, the establishment may not want to service that, and I can see that they wouldn't want anything that's too far away from their location. So I don't necessarily see that the spillover onto railroad is necessarily useful. I may be wrong. Maybe they do, and a lot of them they have skeleton staff. They don't have people that they want to send on 2 or 3 minute walks to deliver food, return food, wipe down tables, all of that. So on the spillover, that's fine. I mean, I understand your point about Cactus Sushi, but his business model essentially was takeout and delivery. And when all this when COVID is over, it's not like he's suddenly going to have the extra tables, or he's going to build out his restaurant to put in 3 tables in the restaurant because it was helpful. He may move somewhere else. He may get another space nearby.
Put her hand down. Dan has his hand up.
And then third, about Tavlin, I did speak to him as well, and I understand that he's happy to have sidewalk seating initially, and if he needs change, and with the cooperation, as Susan Shapiro of Goldstein said, that there are a number of establishments nearby that are willing to have tables to accommodate on the sidewalk to accommodate Tavlin. He said that he's happy to have seating there initially, and if it needs to change, then he's willing to consider other alternatives, including adding tables on the street. So that was the direct communication with him.
That's part
I
of the
think that's
executive
something
orders,
that's
isn't
important
it?
for the council, and we do have to decide, and maybe that's a part of a vote or part of the resolution, because, with railroad, no railroad, with Washington, no Washington, might work or not work, depending on, like you just mentioned, the belief that the Tavlin's good as long as he has sidewalk seating across the entire, sidewalk. I believe there's some council people that don't feel as comfortable with sidewalk seating. So I just want to make sure we don't take a decision that you don't need something because you have something else, but no one else wants that something else also. So I don't know what the right answer is. I'm just telling you, I don't want us to make decisions on something that other people,
I just want to throw a piece of detailed information that's contained in the executive order about outdoor dining, just so everyone's aware of it. A restaurant that has outdoor seating, of course, has to have an insurance policy that indemnifies the borough against any issues. And so if they have outdoor seating in front of another storefront that store is owned by another landlord, they're going to have an agreement with that landlord, and they're going to have insurance that indemnifies their next door neighbor. So it's not just let's put tables wherever we want on the sidewalks and everything will be good. There are some legal issues beyond, with that the restaurants will have to deal with if they don't want, if they think they can just spread out wherever they want to be. But go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I didn't know that.
I get that. That makes some sense.
Yep.
But yeah, thank
Just so everyone's aware.
Dan has
Go ahead. I think Dan was next. Dan?
No, I think I was.
Oh, you're right, Julie. My mistake. You're next, Julie.
Dan and then Jeff.
So I wanted to just follow up with Dan's previous question and some of Adam's points about where the tables will go. So Dan asked the chief a question regarding, can the tables be just where the parking spots would be, rather than put the Jersey barrier on the yellow line? And I just want to remind everyone that because of social distancing, we're going to have to be really mindful of how far apart the tables will have to be. So I personally don't feel that just taking up the parking spots would accomplish what is being proposed. And also, while I'm at it, I just want to make sure that I'm speaking the same language as everyone else,
because let me just clarify, nobody has the answer, nobody has a crystal ball and knows how this is gonna play out, how people are gonna shop and how they're gonna eat. But I think that if we're taking up seats, of the action from the street, then we cannot have sidewalk seating as well. Because, then the walking, Jeff, would you mind just muting real quick? I just hear a little. Thanks. So what happens is, if I'm walking and I got a nice open sidewalk, then that's gonna maybe facilitate me going to the retail. So if we're committing to the street seating, we can't also have sidewalk seating. So then when Adam's bringing up that some of these tables will in fact be BYY tables, but they'll be on railroad, that vision is okay if we have a sidewalk that's open all around. Now, of course, the devil will be in the details of does BYY want to bust the table that's, maybe half a block away around the corner. That'll be figured out. But I'm just saying that we can't also have sidewalk seating while we're also having street seating. And I just have a real quick point about the parking lot. I would say to Adam and maybe Lauren or whoever is representing the plan is I think it would behoove you to also speak to Wells Fargo because they have so much parking there. And we also have the lot behind Wells Fargo, which I believe the town owned, which was for permits at one point for bus commuters. I didn't know if that was still in play. This is all across from the Elks Lodge, and I think there's also a ton more parking. So with the signage, we just need that whole vision. So if we're taking two streets, I'd want an open sidewalk so people can walk and into the stores no problem and have lots of accessible parking that might require them to be behind a building like parking lot O, but we'd have to have signage. That's my holistic view of what I wanted to say is I don't want sidewalk seating if we're having street seating.
So, thank you, Julie. Just to comment on your parking, yes, across the street from the Elks is commuter parking, hourly parking. On East Clinton Avenue by the railroad tracks is another municipal parking lot for about 20 cars. Behind the theater, I'm not even sure how many cars can park there, 40, 50 cars is a municipal lot. The post office, as Councilman Michaels mentioned, across the street from the post office by Angelique is municipal parking. And just to comment on the parking a little bit, this morning I had breakfast from Bread and I had lunch from Pizza Nova. I typically eat at least 2, possibly 3 meals a day in downtown Tenafly for the past 10 years. And, there's no reserved parking spots in front of any restaurant. You always have to, sometimes you luck out and you get it in front of the restaurant. Most of the times you don't. And I'm okay. Well, I don't think in 10 years I've ever parked out front of Tenafly Kosher once, and I eat there constantly. Sometimes I have to walk up the block across the street, whatever it might be, and I'm just going to reiterate that, we have a walking challenge here and not as much parking. But anyway, go ahead. It's not for me to say everything. Who was next?
Dan and then Jeff.
Dan, then Jeff, please.
Just to clarify that if we make this, if we extend these barriers out, we're not putting any tables up. It's up to however many the restaurant can fit, right?
Yeah, there's a whole separate, we have a resident, yes, so to answer the second part of your question, they can only be put up based on the appropriate social distancing requirements, number one. Number two, we have a resident who is actually working with a vendor or a business relationship they have to donate the usage of the tables and chairs to the town for the duration of this outdoor dining.
Do we know how big the tables are going to be?
I do not know the answer to that question, but they'll typically fit, well, I don't know the exact dimensions, but it's for 4 people.
4 people.
We've on a number of different size dimensions. There's a 42-inch round. The interesting balance is you want lots of space for the people, but if it's too big, you have 87 teenagers all sitting around the same table. The intention is that it's single family tables. So it could be a trillion inch round, but you really want just a single family there. But we're thinking about either a rectangular or a 42-inch round, 36-inch round table. So they're big enough that you're not next to each other, but not so big that you think you're getting a group of 8 people are not intended to sit at the table.
And now, with regard to the tables, the borough is not expending any. There's no cost to the borough. There's no pass-through tax. Tax whatever for the resident. It's
No.
being done.
There's no, so let's talk about that for a second. There's no cost to the taxpayers for tables or chairs. As a matter of fact, there's, I guess, the Jersey barriers. The chief can speak to this issue. The Jersey barriers we're going to buy to do this. To do this cost $1 each, and then when we're done with this in labor, we're going to on Labor Day we're going to sell it back to the company that sold it to us for $1 each. So there's no cost for the Jersey barriers either.
Who will be bossing these tables? It's just like a picnic table type deal, or just free for all?
Right. So the restaurants are responsible for the tables that are in front of their stores, and we're going to put out extra garbage pails, and that sort of thing, so people have a place to put their refuse. Who had their hand up next? Jeff, please go ahead.
Yeah, so, since we do have possibilities of tables being other spots and all these questions, I would just throw it out there that maybe we add to the resolution, just so that the restaurants and businesses are clear, something to the effect of be resolved that procuring should be through donations, but procuring and servicing the tables as well as cleaning the tables in the surrounding area are the responsibility of the establishments using them. Just so that it's not up there of, well, your resolution doesn't say it, you provided tables around the corner, we're not going to take responsibility even though we're using them.
You got that?
It's something that can be thrown in.
Yes.
Yeah. My only, and again, it's for the council to decide. I don't have a strong preference one way or another. I can imagine a scenario where we don't want to unduly burden the restaurants, and I'm just making up a scenario, and they just say, forget it, we don't want to pay for the tables per se.
Have to do that.
My concern, and again for the council to think through, is this is not just for the downtown businesses. This is an equal part for the residents as well. So whether we decide that the town pays for it, whether we decide, and I'm fine with, we don't want the town to pay for anything, we have to get central donations, or whether we decide how we do it, I can imagine a scenario that if you just leave it completely private to the businesses to do it, you're not going to see anything, and then you lose 50% of the benefit, which is the benefit coming to the residents. So I'm not saying that the town should pay for it. I'm just concerned if you say that the businesses are going to pay for it, I think you could have it in. But that's just my opinion.
I'm not saying, look, I'm not saying that businesses should pay for the table. I said procuring, and that if someone wants to donate the tables to them and they accept it, that's fine. I'm just saying that we're not providing it. And if a restaurant doesn't want to bus its own tables and keep the area around its own tables clean, that's sad. What I don't want, because this will drive people away from Tenafly, is if they come down here and it looks like that they're going to turn around and say, I got 10 other towns that are going to be doing this. I'm not going there. And I don't want it to become the responsibility of our DPW to basically, as I've put it in other situations, to become custodians of a food court. That's all. I'm keeping it simple. I'm saying they procure it, doesn't mean they have to buy it. They're responsible for getting the tables one way or the other and maintaining, bussing, and cleaning the area around it. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a mess, and then people are going to stop coming down.
If I may add, the directive from the Department of Health, it mandates that the businesses that are participating have to do the cleaning, the sanitizing, all of that. So that the state is mandating that already on the businesses. We could supplement the resolution with that, but again, the state is saying in order to do this, the businesses have to do all the cleaning and disinfecting.
That's fine. Then we can, just make sure that that's part of the resolution, since that's
Correct.
the state mandate anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, can you clarify that, Lizette? So let's say Calvin, for example, goes to just past the Antonios. They're responsible for that whole area?
Everything has to be demarcated with the spacing, what area they will be using, so it cannot be haphazard. Everyone just has to go on to the Department of Health and look up the Executive Directive 20-014, and it's very specific on, in order to participate, you have to clean up, you have to disinfect, because you don't want a surge or this pandemic to start over again. So it's everyone's responsibility who is participating to ensure the health and safety of everyone, and that includes the disinfection, infection control, frequent sanitation. Those are clauses that you will see throughout that directive.
So from the storefront to the barrier.
To the street barrier, to the Jersey barrier, I think is what he's saying.
Yes.
Yes.
The whole area.
All right, other questions about item number 4? No, okay. Before we go on, was there another hand raised?
I'm looking.
Before we go on to item number 5, I'm just going to go backwards a step. There's about BYOB in terms of the licenses. Lizette, could you just talk about how that's going to work?
BYOB applies the same way, where if a restaurant does not have a liquor license, but somebody wishes to bring a bottle of wine to have with their meal or to make a pitcher of sangria, there is no fee, no permit. The only thing is the restaurants cannot issue the special charge, like an uncorking fee or to charge for ice. If they allow patrons to bring in alcohol inside, the same rules apply whether if a patron wants to bring alcohol outside. So there's no special regulation.
Any questions about that from anyone? No? Okay. All right. Item number 5, outdoor dining will be allowed on parts of Piermont Road, Highwood Avenue, and J Street as per the attached maps.
Question.
Go ahead, Dan.
Chief, are you still there?
Yes, he is.
Chief?
Yes, I'm here.
He's here. He's there. Go ahead, Dan.
The corner of J and Highwood where Vita is, do you see any issues with that corner with the line of sight or anything like that?
No, because it's going to be cheated up a little bit, right? It's going to be more away from the house of, what's on the corner, the house of color? It's going to be more toward, like, between 7-Eleven and that corner property, right? So, no, I don't. And plus, my first barricade is tapered, right? So, I think it'll be okay.
Okie dokie.
Anybody else? Any other?
Julie just raised her hand.
Julie, go ahead, please, Julie.
What was the situation on dogs? A lot of people like to eat outside with their dogs, and I didn't know what the health department would say, because we do have that currently outside of restaurants. Is there a problem with that?
Chief, are you aware of any ongoing problems with dogs historically at outdoor dining in Tenafly?
I am not, and plus, it's a service dog that has to be permitted. But no, that's not something that we get a lot of complaints. I mean, we don't have a lot of outdoor dining anyway, but that's something that I will at least wanted to
Any other questions on item number 5, please? No?
I don't see any other reason.
Okay, so let's move on to item number 6. Restaurants with parking lots can extend dining to their parking lots. The number of parking spaces required are temporarily reduced until September 7th within these parking lots, in so much as they're taken up by dining tables, and no parked vehicle can be within 6 feet of the outdoor seating area. That was that language was requested by our zoning officer and building department to have clarity there, to make sure no one takes, that everything goes cleanly and no one takes advantage of that situation. Any questions on that one? No questions, was there?
No.
Okay.
Wait, Dan has.
Dan, go ahead.
Julie, and
Sorry, I
that's-
missed number, the one previous to this one.
Number 5?
Yeah, if we wanted to extend that up higher to Piermont, to the other restaurants, not Piermont, I'm sorry. Highwood. With that, what would be required for just a map change, or?
That's, if the council wants to do that, that's a map change. That's, if we want to do it, we can do it. That's the beauty of the flexibility here. But Chief, do you want to specifically address that question from Councilman Park?
So, I'm sorry, Dan, you're talking about going beyond Gourmet Farms, like toward the coffee shop?
Right by the Korean restaurant and the coffee shop, yeah.
Yeah, Tenafly Coffee
They
Company.
change their minds or whatever.
No, that's the coordinating off of the parking spaces with the barrier is a very easy. No, that's easy to do.
Just one thing, Dan, one of our great downtown committee dedicated members, actually went out early this morning, took a video. I believe there's a big parking lot behind the coffee shop in Asuwan.
Yep.
Again, that sounds like a great one and I have to go there myself, but she took a great video. That could be another great place to set up some tables, and that'd be obviously less onerous on Highwood, which I know, as the chief helped us with, is a big thoroughfare. So it's one of the reasons why we tried not to block off Highwood. So if that big parking lot in the back was usable, that could be another great place for residents to have their coffee and their Asuwan meal.
Julie has her hand up.
Julie, go ahead, please.
No, I think that was a mistake, but while I'm here, I did then just want to ask, so by the end of the discussion, will we know if people envision this as sidewalk as well as street, or, are we going to get clarification, or is that something that has to be added to the resolution?
So,
That with all these moves that it wouldn't include sidewalk?
So item number 7, so to go to your question, it really speaks to that, is about, it says temporarily suspending outdoor seating permit requirements through September 7th. Now, some restaurants have already applied for their sidewalk seating. The challenge, and that's an annual license, correct, Lizzie?
It's an
Or
annual license that runs on a calendar year. So if you apply May 1st, it runs from May 1st to April 30th. If you apply June 2nd, it's from June 2nd to June 1st. It's not, so it's based on the day somebody applies and receives it, 12 months.
Right. So all of this is on a case-by-case basis. So if you're I'm just in front of Brasserie, and if they have a sidewalk seating license, the challenge with that restaurant is you can't get maybe perhaps 2 tables there with the social distancing requirements, and they probably have 14 tables inside their store or so. So that becomes, and I'm not pretending I'm an expert on Brasseret's business whatsoever, okay? I'm just saying the sidewalks really don't give enough space for the restaurants. That doesn't make, it's not enough economic sense. And Vanu had brought up the point earlier about Bread. Yes, their sidewalk space is much larger, so we have to deal with that on a you know, again, case-by-case basis, Julie. And by Tenafly Coffee, that sidewalk is probably amongst the narrowest in the borough's downtown area. So I'm not sure they'd be able to put anything out there. Does that answer your question, Julie?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I guess when I'm talking, like, if we're talking Washington Avenue and the other street, Railroad, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to have sidewalk seating if we're having the street seating. That's, like, I'm just in.
Oh, okay.
Like people trying to walk down the street,
Right.
and then we got both things going on. That's all I'm trying to.
Right, yeah, if we have seating, if we have outdoor seating, you know, in the street, then we wouldn't have sidewalk seating in front of that particular restaurant because you wouldn't be able to get by and keep your social distance.
Mayor?
Oh, yes, please, Vanu, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Sorry to go back to number 4.
It's okay.
I just realized that we didn't, I'd like to get a sense of where each of the council members stand on, because if we have to change the map, that would include changing that map as well. About West Railroad, and you know, we've had a couple of, we had a store, you know, one of the store owners talk about it, about not closing it, and we've had you know, Mayor Rustin as well, kind of suggesting, and he suggested not doing any of them, but there was also the request not to do West Railroad. So, you know, I just want to know what the other council members feel about this, so that it's on the record.
Do any of the council members have a comment on that? Okay, so, I mean, Vanu, my comment on that is, you know, so Vanu, Adam and Lauren and the chief and the fire chief have worked on this particular plan, and, you know, again, it's the issue of we ramp up, we ramp down, do we start with Washington Street, move to Railroad? What we're all asking is that the council, you know, move this plan forward. And that's kind of what we're discussing tonight, and that's what we'll vote on Tuesday night. In terms of, we've taken into consideration the stores, parking for the stores, you know, all that sort of stuff. And when, you know, people are dining, and it's daylight till 9 p.m. at night, so there's an opportunity for people to dine later. In terms of comments about one-ways that didn't work in the past, well, that's the past, and you know, there's a new administration in town, and we're looking at things different ways, and this isn't about changing traffic patterns, this is about outdoor dining in Tenafly, and so we've kind of put all this together. Lots of variables here, but you know, this is what we're going to be looking for the council to move forward on Tuesday.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I just wanted to give people an opportunity to speak up one way or the other.
I 100% agree with that. Okay. All right. Other go.
I will say that I think there might be a lot less car traffic come starting after school lets out. That's just a possibility, you know, for us to consider. I don't know if people are going to second homes, but Tenafly in the summer generally is a bit lighter on the cars, so just something to think about.
That's a very good point, Julie. That we usually do get lighter traffic throughout the whole town in summertime. Were there other questions on that? No. I think we're ready to move to.
Question.
Go ahead, Dan.
Since Cafe Angelique, the very first 2 spots in that red zone are handicapped. Chief, do those have to move, or do they stay there and the outdoor seating moves over 2 spots?
Chief, you there? You have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I was unmuted. I had envisioned moving them. A little unorthodox, but to have the servers and people walk around the spots and then dine a little farther away, I think we could probably position tables on there, and I can get temporary. I can get signs. You see them in other places where the sign's kind of like in a.
Chief, how difficult is it to move the handicap spots?
Well, I'm not difficult. I can't change the painting. And I say painted, we're gonna have tables over them.
That's okay.
We're gonna create temporary spots beyond the seating area.
And I believe in front of, I want to say, either your elbow or the Mr. Walk corner. I think one of those is a handicap spot as well.
You're probably right. So we
It's
can.
either the
The
corner.
Tenafly Gourmet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's by gourmet, so I don't think it is, right?
Is it? I thought it was the Walk corner.
I was there last night, sort of in between Gourmet and Europe.
So,
I'm gonna get temporary signs.
Chief and Dan, that's something we can follow up on and do a site visit there. Any other questions? Dan, did you have another question, or?
No, that was it.
Okay, so no more questions on number 7. We'll go to 8. Permit seating at picnic tables at Hyla Park and Sergeant Nicholas Oresco Park. Questions on that from anyone?
So, Mayor,
Go ahead, Jeff, I'm sorry.
on that, I'm fine leaving it in the resolution, although again, my concern about who's gonna be cleaning all this, if possible, I'd leave it in the resolution, but ask that be a later step if we need it, because, we've worked hard to keep our parks clean, but this would require more intensive use of DPW personnel, and we've also spent a lot of time improving the grass and trees and everything there, and while I know you and I talked about there could be some room for picnic tables on the paths, they're really, most of the paths there are not that wide, and it would force some of the seating onto grass or a lot more walking. I just don't want to use that as the first. I would take that as, let's say, a phase 2 or phase 3 if we need. I'm not against it. I just think that's not phase 1.
That's perfectly reasonable, Jeff. Question.
The permit seating at picnic tables at Highland Park and Sergeant Nicholas Oresco Park may be determined at a later time.
Correct. Like Jeff said, with the hot boxes.
Yeah.
Budget for 2, we ordered 1, and we wait for the next one. Same concept.
Yeah, I would just say, again, trying to barely able to speak for myself, but if Lauren was on it, I think she's very passionate about it. So, yeah, I know she would say that she'd be upset.
Well, right, and she is very passionate about it, 100% correct. We're not taking it out. I think Councilman Grossman's point was.
Jeff knows Lauren better than all of us.
Right.
Yes.
We're all we're stepping our toe into something we haven't done before, and we all, myself included, need to be very flexible about this process.
Adam,
Why do you think I'm not having it taken out?
Adam, hadn't you mentioned to me though that there was a benefit of getting more tables at the beginning, rather than less, and then adding them on? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, the mayor would know best. I think there's 2 elements, and the chief. One is the Jersey barriers. That's the thing that you don't pick up with your arms every day, and you move them around every day. So I don't think the chief would be very happy about that. And then the tables, and, again, we haven't figured out the tables fully. We got some great feedback from the residents that maybe put some umbrellas on some of those, on the tables. You have to put weights on those. And again, as I've been told, I'm learning right alongside everybody else. You actually use a forklift because you have to weight the umbrellas so they don't fly away. So I don't believe this is just Julie and I, putting into our Subaru Outback 10 tables and laying them out differently every day. So it's not impossible. I think that, they'll just charge you every time they come to do something. We'd have to find that out. That is, once we get this approved and the council is aligned, and we have to get going on exactly, I'm going to be a big proponent and give Jeff a hard time. I really like that idea of the orange and black tables. But we'll have to decide what tables we want and what color fuchsia we want to use on it. I'm indifferent. I don't care.
More orange.
Right, I want more orange. If it doesn't have tiger paws on it, I'm not approving this at all.
Someone else have their hand up or no? Okay, so the next item is number 9. No outdoor seating is permitted in any of the municipal parking lots. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. And no tables will be permitted on the sidewalk unless otherwise approved. So basically, back to Julie's point, we're looking for flexibility here, and the sentence pretty much speaks for itself. So we know what we want to do, but it gives us a little flexibility in case we have to make an exception with someone. Any questions on that?
Not that specifically, but can I, because you mentioned Lauren's name, I'm going to say something that she brought up. This question is for whoever spearheads this. When the restaurant, I know I've talked to you about this, Adam, the restaurants, they can decide, right, if they want the table assigned or not, right? They have the choice. But would you also be possibly designing a contract that would have the wording of the health department, but that would ensure that their servers are wearing the mask and having a certain protocol to wipe the tables down? Because I know that was something Lauren was mentioning. We just want to make sure that we do what we can do.
So,
I'm very supportive of all those things, working with our health department. I can envision, I think Jeff spoke about the extra garbage trucks, garbage cans. I'd love to see the members of the downtown committee had great ideas around disinfecting stations. So again, I think that let's get this approved, and the next step is what color should the disinfecting stations be? Where do you place them? How many garbage cans? And I love your idea of a sort of contract of sorts on what everyone's responsibility is.
So let me just speak to that a minute, Julie. So I've previously owned a restaurant. I still hold a license in health preparation for restaurants. The restaurants fall under the health codes. We've got executive orders from the governor. Restaurants get inspected. They're required in order to have their license to meet all kinds of health requirements, temperature requirements for their equipment, etc. And that has been extended based on the current situation we're in. And we've talked to our health inspector. She'll be responsible for inspecting, as always, the restaurants. So we know that the restaurants are all meeting their health codes. That's something they have to do all the time, every day.
Right, I was just talking about the table.
Pardon me?
No, I hear you, Mr. Mayor. I was just talking about the responsibilities, and with the table that would be outside, just that extra cleanliness piece, with whatever needed to be added.
Understood. Vanu, did you have a question?
Yeah. So can we get clarification that places that want to apply for sidewalk seating can do that if they want to turn down, the street blocking? So that, they only want the sidewalk seating, they don't want any of the street. Are we able to do that?
Well, yeah, that's why we added this clause, unless otherwise approved, at the end of number 10. So if someone applies for it, they'll get their annual license if they meet all the current requirements.
Right, so they can get that, and then they can say, we don't want any to participate in the street parking, in the street.
If they choose to, right, we're not trying to force anyone to use it.
But just for clarity,
Yeah.
just so the chief doesn't have a conniption, you can't forgo like the Jersey barriers. Like, we are blocking off the space. If a particular restaurant doesn't want their tables, we could either leave that space completely empty, or again, I'm always the optimist. There might be someone else that wants more than the 2 tables that physically sit there. So I just want to make sure for Councilman Menon, there's not a possibility for a restaurant to say, I don't want you to put Jersey barriers up and close my my parking. They don't get the parking back if they don't want to use the tables. And again, the chief, tell me if I'm wrong here. Again, these are not easy movable Jersey barriers that people lift up with their arms.
Right, got it. I agree.
Dan has his hand.
Dan, you have a question?
I forgot what it was. Oh, bathrooms. How do bathrooms work?
They can go inside to use the bathroom inside the restaurant.
Right. Did you hear Lizette there? Go inside the restaurants to use their bathroom.
And the restaurant's responsible for the cleanup, right?
Correct.
Or the sanitizing, rather.
Right.
Gotcha.
They're responsible, regardless of the seating situation, they're responsible for their bathrooms.
Jeff has his hand up.
Jeff, yes, please.
Yeah, I know we're reaching the end of this, and I just want to go way back up to the whereas clauses, because I forget who had mentioned it earlier, alerted me to them. I would like one word changed if we can, and if it's not controversial. The 4th whereas clause says, as a result of various restrictions, it says Tenafly restaurants have experienced great economic loss. I would like to change restaurants to businesses, because we are considering in our parking and use of sidewalks, we're trying to at least think about all our businesses, and restaurants have remained open, and a lot of other businesses have been shut down for 3 months. I don't think that should be a controversial word change, but if it is, fire away, gang.
I think it's like Tenafly community. I think all of us, everything that we've been doing. I would argue the school system has been challenged by this as well. So.
I'm fine with the word change to businesses. It's a more accurate statement.
Do we, regarding word change, can we also, or is it necessary, that we've talked about signage for parking, and just a quick caveat that the parking lot O, the dumpsters that are behind the businesses, they're probably going to need a little bit more attention for having people back there. Is my nice way of saying it. Do we put in this that if the town or whoever would be supplying signs to increase parking awareness? Does that go here? Because that would be part of this vision.
So we have added signs about, 2-3 months ago, parking signs over in the West Clinton Avenue area that we had, and we're going to order additional signs through the DPW for parking. I'm not sure if we haven't actually ordered them yet, have we? I don't believe, but we've been talking about it. It really doesn't need to go into this resolution. It's part of the normal DPW road programming, and we're extremely aware that we need more parking signs downtown.
And let me ask this of Chief, if you can unmute. So let's say, middle of summer, we become like New Hope, Pennsylvania. Everybody's coming here. We're the center of the universe. the sign, the electronic sign showing speed limit in front of the fire station, police station, could that be moved and then put to say additional parking and point in directions?
That can be used for a lot of different things. Yeah, we probably use it more as a message board than a speed limit thing. But I just would like, I wouldn't want to get it deployed in a position that I couldn't get it out to display a somewhere else. But we definitely could use it at times. And also too, I probably have the ability to probably maybe get one on loan from the county for a longer period of time.
All right. Thank you.
Dan, you have your hand up, please?
To build off what Jeff said about the restaurants versus businesses, will this allow any other business to put out tables if they wanted to?
Well, so we've talked about that. The issue came up at the with the president of the Chamber of Commerce, because we said, if the businesses want to do that, they could do that. But the pushback immediately was, and again, I'm not speaking for the businesses. I think Adam and I had the conversation with one or two people in the chamber, including the president of the chamber, that the businesses wouldn't really want to do that because that meant they would have to have someone outside with, the items they were selling, and they didn't want to leave their tables unattended. So that's an option, but the feedback, an option certainly from my point of view to accommodate them. But the feedback from the businesses is that's not really something they're interested in doing.
But like the mayor said, absolutely anybody that wants a table will get a table.
In terms of this issue?
Yeah, this one's for outdoor dining.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Lizette was kind enough to actually just correct me here and gave me a copy of the executive order in terms of, from the governor, in terms of the table for retail stores, we're not allowed to exceed the order allowing outdoor dining. So outdoor retail sales aren't really allowed through this process, except to the extent you can do it in another way, let's say an outdoor sale and that whole permitting process. So sorry for that confusion.
Wouldn't this be covered as that curbside pickup that's already allowed, though?
Say that again?
She's asking if it's considered as curbside pickup, but now indoor retail is permitted.
Right.
Only permitted.
Right.
That eliminates that curbside pickup.
Right, so Julie, indoor retail is permitted so people can go into the stores to pick up anything they purchase and shop right there. Any other questions from anyone on any of these items here? Jeff, you had said earlier you wanted to say something at the end. Was that covered by your comments before?
I didn't say something at the end. I just said that I would add that wasn't the sum and substance of everything. I think I've chimed in where I needed to. Thank you.
Okay, I want to make sure everyone is heard, has an opportunity. Does anyone have any final comments before I make a couple of comments, and then we'll close this? No one's hand is up?
It shows Dan and Jeff.
Dan and Jeff?
Julie just raised hers.
And Julie, Dan?
And Daniel.
Okay.
Nope, I left mine on by accident.
Okay, yep, Julie was next, and then Verneau?
Okay, just a quick thing though, can I revisit the question about the parking that has the permit parking, our town lot that's behind Wells Fargo? Because the signs there are a little confusing. Would we be able to get clarification of which of those spots, belong to commuters, and then which spots we can in fact give to people who are shopping? I think there's a lot of parking back there. And if Wells Fargo is an issue because they're a corporation,
we'll look at it.
maybe a little hard to deal with, again, I think they're worth approaching because it's a particular special circumstance situation. Maybe they would be open to opening their lot, but they might be worried about liability. But we do own the lot behind them, so I just wanted to know if we could clarify where people could park specifically.
So the lot behind Wells Fargo, the borough leases from Wells Fargo where we allow, and then for the part of the lot that's leased, of course, we're able to put up our parking signs as we feel appropriate. And so we'll look at, so we already have control of that lot, and we'll look at the signs to see what's going on. Perhaps you're right, 100% right, in that we need extra signs there. We'll look at that. And Vanu? Vanu?
Yeah, I'd like to, no, nothing else.
Nothing else? Okay. Any other comments from anyone?
Jeff's hand is up.
Jeff, your hand is up.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up to what you and Julie were just discussing. I mean, do we want to look, since many people are working from home right now, do we want to look at a resolution also temporarily suspending our permit parking because there are far fewer commuters? I'm just throwing that out there as an option because I don't know how much those lots are being utilized right now. I have not checked.
Okay, so we'll do a little homework on that before we answer that question or make a recommendation. Hold on, it's just temporarily suspending.
I just think it's important that any residents realize that we're all really trying to be very, very deliberative here, and all of our businesses realize that too. Like, we're just trying to, I know personally I've studied this issue quite a lot in a couple of days, but not as much as some of my fellow council people. So I think we're all just trying our best to do what's best for town collectively. We're not taking it lightly.
Correct. Any other comments from council members?
Real quick, Chief, how many parking spots would be we losing from Washington and West Railroad?
I don't have a count for you. I don't. If I had to estimate, they're not angled, because you must put spots with angle spots.
Chief, I counted today, it's about 18 on West Railroad.
Thanks for that, thank you.
It's when I was picking up my croissants from bread, that's what I did.
Okay, good.
Mark, you said 18 just on West Railroad?
Yeah, I believe it's I believe it's 18 across the entire length of West Railroad on both sides of Washington Street.
Oh, with Washington, gotcha.
No.
No, that's not what I said. No. On both the south and northern side of Railroad.
That's 18. That sounds about right.
Yep.
And then with Washington, you probably just did almost double that to get a total.
Would that double the total? I don't want to answer that question because I did not count those this morning. But the section of Washington we're closing is shorter than the section of Railroad that we're closing.
Yeah, but it's both sides.
Well, on Washington, right, we would have the outdoor seating on the south side, and the north side would have, 30-minute parking for half of it, and the other half would be for 30-minute parking, and then curbside pickup parking.
Yes, that's a consideration that obviously we wanted the curbside pickup, which I think would encompass part of that. I threw out 30 minutes, but that's adjustable. You can make it 10, 15, 20, 30, and that would probably allow someone to run to CVS and do some shopping, not be eliminated from that. But again, that's up to you folks.
Okay, any other questions from anyone?
Again, though, we would be looking at all this on July 12th, right? That other council meeting.
No, on Tuesday.
We have a council meeting Tuesday night where this will be included in the resolutions for the council to vote on.
It will be included under,
The business.
to be considered have to edit this on Monday and update the website. So based on whatever the deliberation from that discussion, it could be added to the consent agenda and voted on, or deliberations can continue to the June 23rd meeting.
Yeah.
I was referring to the revisiting of anything with the.
The revisiting would take place on July 13th and August 17th.
Right. Right. But this, we want to vote on this, this coming Tuesday, so that if it moves forward, we have time to actually execute and implement the plan. Any other questions? Okay, so just following up from Julie's comments about 5 minutes ago is, this is something very new. It involves a lot of change, and the change, while it's temporary, is still change, and change is always very difficult for all of us. And to Julie's point, there is no 100% correct answer here. Everyone's input and questions and concerns are all 100% valid, and we think it's best that we move forward in this direction to give it a try. We all, for years, have been talking about doing something to help our downtown, and this is an opportunity to do something substantial and meaningful, even though it's only for a short period of time, to test it out, and who knows where it's going to take us. And part of this is, if we want to improve our downtown, whether it's this plan, a different plan, whatever it might be, we actually have to do something to make things different. And I think the risk that we're taking here is a reasonable risk, and it's not, again, we're not putting concrete into the ground with steel, and it's an enormous expense. This is a very a short-term thing. I support it, and again, I'm going to say, I want to say thank you to Lauren and Adam and the chief for putting this whole thing together, and all the input from the council members. It's been a very spirited discussion, and let's vote on this Tuesday night and move forward. If there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the work session.
One last request, sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
Can we actually, maybe Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday morning, can we get a visual if one of the restaurants is willing to put out maybe 2 tables just to see how far out they go?
Into the street?
Yeah, just the visual, like first sidewalk versus going all the way to the street only, parking spot only, sidewalk only, like just a visual.
So I'll have an offline conversation with the chief. We actually brought one of the fire trucks out with the outriggers into the street either yesterday or today to confirm measurements and distances in terms of safety reasons. So I will talk to the chief offline, and we'll figure something out with the visual for that.
Thank you.
Go a motion to adjourn the work session, please.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.